again, let me just kind of reiterate. If you want to be average with money, this is not your channel. The goal is not to get you better, to get you average with money. The goal is to get you way above average, right? We don't want to be average, blaming this and blaming that. And we just want to be like everybody else and fit in. No, if you're on this channel and you're watching this video and you're watching me, I want you to be above average. I want you to be different because I'm not interested in just you being average. I want you to be way up there, right? Now, listen, this video, this is not about shaming anybody. We're not doing that. But it's really about refusing to settle for average and settle for less. I don't want you settling for being mediocre with money. Everybody wants to settle and just kind of fit in. No, I want you not to fit in with money. And I recognize, guys, I recognize flat out that this channel right here on YouTube is not for everybody. It's really not for everybody. I make no excuses for that. Some people don't like, my style. Some people don't like the fact that, I'm not fear mongering and telling you, oh my gosh, don't like this and don't like that. And I'm not taking a side, Republican, Democrat. I don't do any of that. And for some people, they don't like that, right? But again, this channel ain't for everybody. If you want to be average, this ain't for you. If you want to be above average, this channel is for you automatically. I said automatically, kind of like a New York accent, right? Automatically. Appreciate you guys. Let me know that my audio got better. Port Gibson, Mississippi. Now, is that on the Delta or is Port Gibson going to be southeast, central, northwest Mississippi? Let you know. Both of my parents were from Mississippi. We got that Memphis in the house. What's that? Shelby County, Memphis. Good to have you here. Let's see here. Kansas in the house. All right. I'm a Kansas guy. Birmingham, Alabama. We got Texas here. Perfect. Tonight is straight shooting. I want to have a relaxed conversation with you guys. No sugarcoating. We're going to talk about how to stop being mediocre and how to step into a life of financial order so you can be above average. And you can feel free to ask questions in the chat. I'm going to do my best to keep up with the chat. I'm going to be checking the chat. Appreciate you, Battle Creek, Michigan. Justin's here. Virginia's in the house. Narlands is in the house. We got Houston, H-Town. We got somebody near Philadelphia, right? Philadelphia's a serious city for music. A lot of people may or may not know that, but Philadelphia's got a lot of artists that came out of Philadelphia in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. So we like Philly, no doubt. Okay, so the first thing is this I want to wrap about. And you guys, again, you can chime in, you can ask questions. It's Friday, so we want to be kind of laid back here. We don't want anything to be all stressed and anything like that. We push that mic out the way, get it out of here. So Spokane, Washington's up in here. All right, good to have you, Lee. Good to have you. Yeah, the Philly sound was big back in the 70s, 80s, back in the day. But here's the deal. The first thing I want to talk about, and again, you can ask questions in the chat. I'll do my best to keep up with it. Let me start by saying something that seems like it might be a little controversial. It shouldn't be controversial, but people look at it as controversial. By the way, hit the thumbs up button. If you know anybody who wants to get better with money and be above average, go ahead and send the link to this YouTube video or share the link to this in LinkedIn or wherever you're at, you're on Facebook. Shoot them this information so they can listen in right now, okay? So the first thing I want to say is this. Becoming wealthy or getting rich or being successful, however you want to term it, it's not really a magic trick, okay? Some people think this is, some type of something you did or you got lucky, right? I hear that all the time. It's luck, especially here in America, right? There's a lot of people believe in luck, but here's the deal. When it comes to money and your personal finances and being above average and not settling for average with money, you have the power of choice. You really, 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 really have a say-so. And I know it don't feel like it sometimes because sometimes our mind is stuck in one area, but we really have a say-so in what happens to us financially. You can literally decide tonight to stop being mediocre with your money, to stop being average. It's really about how you think, and how you think. Greenville, Mississippi. I think that is Bolivar County down there. We got Raleigh, North Carolina. I'm still shouting them out. South Jersey. Trenton's in North Jersey. South Jersey. No, that's not Newark. All right. Just so you know, guys, I like cities and states and countries and all that because I used to be a teacher, geography teacher. But anyway, that's besides the point. Let's talk about the mind. Let's talk about the head right here. The head space is the big issue. Look, listen. In America, you can decide to stop being mediocre with your personal finances. It's really about how you think. Listen, I am not on my channel. Let me say this, full disclosure, flat out. I hope nobody gets mad at me, but if you do, I'm just who I am, and I can't be anything different. Listen, I am not a person on my YouTube channel that bashes America. If you're looking for that guy that hates America, don't like America, think America has, 25,000 things wrong with it and nothing good about it, I'm not your guy. I'm not going to sit here and hate on America. Yeah, America has its problems. We know that, right? But I'm not the blame type of person. And if you want to be above average in anything you do, you can't be about, let me blame this and let me put the responsibility here. Let me put the accountability over here. You got to be a person that takes responsibility. You can't be a person that says it's the president's fault. It's my local politician's fault. It's the Republican Party. It's the Democrat Party. You can't blame the military. I'm just not that guy. I don't have videos blaming anything outside of us, what we can do in terms of personal responsibility about where we are with money. I like America. Don't beat me up. I know that's not a popular thing to say nowadays. I like capitalism. Don't beat me up. I know it's not a popular thing to say. Everybody wants to be socialist. And that's not me. That's not this channel. Okay? I like the opportunities that we have in America. Is everything perfect? Definitely not. Let's not be foolish, right? Everything is not perfect. But here's what I know. I know that the power to change our individual financial station in life here in America is available. And it starts with how you think, your mind, your beliefs, your thoughts. Huge, right? Don't necessarily get a lot of views, but it's huge. And you really don't have to settle for mediocrity. You can choose to do something different with your life in America, right? You can choose to do something better with your life or different with your life here in America, right? Here's what mediocrity or mediocre people do. Let me just say this. A lot of people that live in that average space, and the reason I'm telling you this is flat out, guys, the gap between the wealthy and the not wealthy is just widening every single day. It's getting bigger and bigger and bigger all the time. There's a bigger gap between the haves and the have-nots. You want to end up in 10, 15 years, you and your family in the haves, right? I mean, we can spin it however we want to spin it. We can say that's horrible, that's good, whatever you want to think about it. I don't want us to emotionally invest in that concept. Well, we need to do this and we need to listen. I want you to emotionally invest in the concept of not being in the have-nots. Whether you agree, you disagree, don't matter, right? At the end of the day, what matters is where are you going to be at in 15 years, in 10 years? Where are you going to be? You get to decide that today. I know it don't feel like it. Some of you living paycheck to paycheck, you struggling to get by. Guess what? You got a choice too. You don't have to be where you are. You can change. You got to start it right here, though. Listen, what mediocre people do is this. They try to change their income, and that's all they think about. I got to make more money. I got to make more money. They try to change their income before they change their mind and their thinking. See, here's the deal. The thing that separates successful people in America and unsuccessful people in America is oftentimes what's here. People don't understand this, guys. The greatest real estate, and I'm a real estate guy, love it. The greatest piece of real estate on the planet is about the 6 inches from this ear to this ear in your own head. When you understand that, That's the first part of getting mediocrity out of your life. That's the first part of stop being average and just like everybody else. Understand the power of your thinking and how that's going to direct your path, your behavior, etc. Here's what happens, okay? With people who stay average. And listen, I'm not bashing, again, I'm not bashing anybody. But what happens to a lot of people is they look at what everybody else is doing and they follow the crowd. Oh, everybody is doing this. Let me do this because no, listen. You have to get in the habit. If you want to be wealthy, if you want to build wealth, if you want to, have some money, if you want to build systems in your life to increase your personal finance, right? Or be successful in anything, you have to be a person that understands the importance of forging your own path in life. The crowd, when it comes to money, the crowd is broke. When it comes to money, the crowd is filled with haters. The crowd don't have discipline. The crowd, they don't have no patience. The crowd don't have no emergency fund. The crowd don't do a budget. The crowd is in bad debt up to their eyeballs. The crowd don't think differently. The crowd just, matter of fact, the crowd will say, man, you thinking too deep, right? But really, the crowd ain't thinking deep enough. The crowd is group thinking. I'm telling you, you got to get to the point where the crowd go left, you go right. The crowd go right, you go left. You got to think about this thing, right? I'm not saying you got to be a loner necessarily. What I'm saying is you got to critically think. You got to use your own brain. And you have to do stuff that's not based on what you see everybody else doing. And here's where that gets you in trouble. Think about how you was raised with money. How was you raised with money? We didn't have a lot of money growing up. We lived in a scarcity type of mindset. You know what I mean? You got to get out of all that, right? You got to get out of if you're in a bad situation with money right now, the first thing you got to do is change the way you think. Because typically what happens is this: if you've gone all your life without intentionally changing the way you think about money, then you're just a product of a narrative that you've been taught about money since you was a child. Think about what you thought about money when you was 5, 6, 7, 8 years old. That same narrative guides your thinking throughout your life with money unless you make an intentional decision to change. Right? The crowd, the crowd is pessimistic, right? The crowd is all about scarcity when it comes. The crowd don't think abundance. If you want to stay average with your personal finances, keep thinking like the crowd, right? Guys, do me a favor. Don't forget to smash the like button for me. I really would appreciate it. And again, share this link with somebody. I want to answer some questions. Let's see here. Oh, appreciate you, Tracy. Let's see. Somebody said getting ready to earn my certification of auditing AI systems. That's Timothy. That's an excellent certification to get. We got somebody said, I love capitalism. Fresno in the house. Listen, here's what you got to remember. Wealth is an inside job first. Let me say it differently, okay? Wealth is a foundational job first. You building from the inside, or I'll say it differently, you building a foundational thing first. And you have to fix this foundation strong before you worry about trying to get more money. I got to get more money, got to get more money. Let's say you do get more money, but you got a negative way of thinking. You got a scarcity mindset. You're not sure how to manage the money, and you get a whole lot of money. Guess what? You're going to end up with the people who make a lot of money but don't have a lot of money. We all know people like that. Man, they got good jobs, 6 figures, but they live in paycheck to paycheck. You don't want that. So the first thing you got to fix is your mindset. This is why we see lottery winners. What happens to a lot of lottery winners? What happens? They go broke, right? We see a lot of lottery winners that go broke. Why do they go broke? Because a lot of times they don't have the mindset that it takes. And some other skills I want to talk about. Let's see. Somebody said, Let's see, do you have to start a brokerage account with a large chunk of money? No, you can start a brokerage account with 50 bucks, right? Good question, Oliver. Appreciate it. But here's how you escape the average with money syndrome. Develop a different mindset, an abundance mindset, and an optimistic outlook, right? A belief. I know a lot of people that don't have a lot of money, but guess what? They don't even believe that they're supposed to have money. They think I'm poor, I'm going to always be poor. Or I'm middle class, I'm going to always be middle class, right? But you got to have an outlook that says if you don't want to be average with money, that says this, you got to think and act like you're supposed to have it. Because I truly believe you are. I believe that none of us you weren't put on this planet to be poor, to be struggling, to be stressed out, to barely have enough money to get by. That's not your destiny. I don't care what your parents did. I don't care how your parents lived. I don't care about the poverty situation that you grew up in, right? That's the past. That's your story, not your future. And you got to believe that way and think that way if you want to be average. And that's the people I talk to on this channel and through this YouTube channel. I talk to people who don't want to be average. But here's the key. We got to remember this. Your financial life follows your thinking. I'm not just being, having a catchy phrase, right? That's reality. Most people try to fix their money with different tactics and getting more money. None of that sticks if your thinking hasn't changed first. Think about it. I always say this, and I'm not trying to offend anybody, right? I'm not trying to be rude or anything like that, but I got to say it. Where you are financially today is largely a result of how you've thought about money up to this point. If you're an adult, now, if you're 16, 17, 18 years old watching this, maybe not you, but if you're 30 years old, if you're 40, 50 years old, all your thinking has accumulated up to where you are right now in terms of your personal finances. That's not a fun thing for a lot of people to think about. But here's the truth. The good news about that statement is this. If your thinking created your current financial life, guess what? Changing your thinking can help create a whole different financial life, right? If it's about your thinking and it's got you in this mess, then your thinking can get you out of this mess. If you first think right. That's why I tell people, stop tying your financial future to whatever happened in the past. I made a lot of mistakes with money that I've documented right here on this YouTube channel, right? I foreclosed on rental properties before. I had, hundreds of dollars in bad checks that were written accidentally, right? I've ran up a credit card that was 60 days late. Did that before, right? I had student loans for 31 years. I made a bunch of mistakes, but those mistakes, they did not write the course for my future. I had to get over them, right? Maybe you watching this right now, nobody ever taught you how to invest money, right? Maybe all you saw throughout your whole life has been financial struggle. All that explains where you came from. It don't have nothing to do with where you're going. That's the type of belief you got to have if you don't want to be average with money. Let's see. I'm going back over to my chat real quick because, I want this to be kind of a chat. I don't want to sit here and preach to you, but sometimes I get preachy. I know that, right? Let's see. Somebody said, do you have to start? No, I read that already. Is it best to invest in ETFs or mutual funds, or is it basically the same? Okay. Mutual funds is right here, and ETFs and index funds are, I won't say ETFs, but index funds are a sort of type of mutual fund, and ETFs are kind of in the same category. The only difference with there's a few differences. One of the main differences with an ETF and an index fund / mutual fund is that ETFs, they change prices throughout the day. So they're exchange traded funds, right? So an ETF might start off the day at 200, but it might go to 205, go down to 198, go up to all within a day cycle. Well, index funds, which are mutual funds, a type of mutual fund, doesn't do that, right? That's one difference. So there's a little difference there. High yield savings accounts, let's say I'm thinking of brokerage accounts is my next move. I basically got out of debt. Congratulations, Oliver, for getting out of debt. I'm 24 and starting my career. I appreciate your wisdom. You got it, Breezy. I appreciate you for being here and rocking with me, right? Let's see. As long as you're alive, absolutely, you still have time, no doubt. Now, let me get back to what I want to say because I don't see any other questions in here. But if you have a question, let me know. Somebody said, well, what is the difference between a brokerage account and a high yield? Brokerage account is like a bank where you do your investing. Let me say it differently. The bank down the street, that's where you keep your money. A brokerage account is more so where you keep your investments, right? I kind of think of it like that. They're similar, but a brokerage account is different. Brokerage account has a set of products that they offer and sell. Your bank down the street got a set of products that they offer and sell, right? The checking account, the enterprise checking account, the business checking account, the CD, they have different products. So brokerage accounts have the same thing. And I think everybody should have a brokerage account. Okay, so the deal is this. Another principle to think about is the fact that your identity drives your behavior. I don't want to dig too deep into identity, but let me say it like this. If you keep seeing yourself as somebody who's bad with money, terrible with money, I hear this all the time. I've never been good with money. If you see yourself like that, right, then you're going to keep making decisions with your money to reinforce that identity with money. So part of thinking differently with money is your self-talk with money about you. I hope that makes sense. Let me know if that makes sense, right? You need to start seeing yourself and talking about yourself as a wealth builder, as a producer, as a creator, as an investor, right? As somebody who manages money on purpose and with discipline. And all of that self-talk coming from a new way of thinking will ultimately change your behavior with money, right? Look, again, if you want to be average, cool. There's nothing wrong with being average and average with money. That's fine. Me personally, I don't want to be average with money. And I want to help people who don't want to be average, right? All of us play this little narrative in our head, and we got to change the way we think, change the way we talk, change the way we look at ourselves when it comes to money. That's the start. All right, question. Let me run over here and see what we got in the chat here. Guys, do me a favor. Let me know in the chat. Just put a 1 in the chat if you have ever intentionally changed the way you think about money. Just let me know in the chat. Have you changed it intentionally? Not accident, but intentionally. You went out and said, I'm going to do things different. Let me know in the chat. Let me see. Somebody said, what is the best way to start a brokerage account? It takes literally 6, 7, 8 minutes to get on Fidelity, start an account. You got to know your bank account's routing number and account number there. But it takes 6, 7 minutes to open a brokerage account on Schwab or Vanguard. And those are the ones I kind of like. I like Moomoo because I use Moomoo on my phone. But it's easy. It's simple, right? It'll take you much less time to do that than to drive down 5 minutes to your bank down the street and open up a bank account. It's easier to start a brokerage account. All right. Let's see. Somebody said, are all traditional IRAs the same? No, not necessarily. Not necessarily. You need to do your research. They're not all the same. How would you handle burnout? I've been saving and it's becoming a real grind. I see progress, but still have a long way to reach. Well, you know what? What I tell people is this. If you're saving, doing the right things with money, you're putting $1,000 to the side, maybe you're saving up your emergency money, or maybe you're investing. I say there's nothing wrong with every now and then, once a month or so, taking yourself out to a nice dinner, right? Spending a few dollars on yourself. There's nothing wrong with that, right? You work hard. And I'm not that person that says you don't never want to stop and get no Starbucks. If you like Starbucks and you're doing all the right things with your money every now and then, spending about $7, $8 on a latte, don't trip. It's not that serious, right? You still got to live life, right? I'm not telling you to throw everything down and stop breathing while you get out of debt. That's not what I'm saying. You got to live life, but you got to be reasonable and you have to be intentional and thoughtful with what you're doing, right? You use a little bit of balance, but let's see. How would you? Let's see. Somebody said, "Is it It's the subconscious mind. You have to cleanse it, no doubt. Absolutely. So we got some folks that said, yeah, I see some ones in the chat. Thanks. Some folks are saying, yeah, you know what? I had to change my mind intentionally. That's what happens, right? If you don't want to be like whoever brought you up and raised you with money, you say, nah, I want to do things different. You got to make an intentional, conscious decision, right? Because if you don't change intentionally how you think about money, you're just going to keep repeating a bad financial script. And who wants to keep repeating a bad financial? Now let's talk about the machinery. This whole, how do you do this? We said you think about stuff the way you think. We said the way you believe. Let's talk about the system. Let's talk about what is this process for leaving mediocrity after you change the way you think. What do you got to do? Because here's the deal. The system after average is all about your behavior. And I talk about thinking first because your thoughts drive your behavior, right? You can't act differently than how you think, right? You can't be in other words, if you change the way you think, you're going to change the way you act and behave. It's kind of automatic, right? And again, your behavior is going to be solely based on what you think. So the first thing is thoughts. Second thing is, what do you do? Notice what I said there. What do you do? Right? That's the key words, you and do. Because listen, if you don't do nothing, you ain't getting nothing. So let me go back to the chat. Somebody said, um, oh, appreciate that, Justin. After you start watching my videos. Let's see. Somebody said, I had something up here. Arlington's in the house. Somebody said, what about CDs? CDs are fine. Not a big return on CDs, right? But that depends on where you are with your personal finance. Somebody says, is it wise to use your TSP to pay off bad debt? No. I got a TSP. I haven't touched it in 20 plus years. Don't touch your CD. You want to pay off bad debt? The best way to do it is work a second job or get some higher paying skills so you can go get a job. Instead of making $50,000 a year, you make $90,000 a year. Use the difference to pay off debt. I do not advise you digging in, touching on your 401k, your TSP, your 403b. Don't touch it. Resist the urge. Work a few more hours. Work some overtime, right? Sell something. Do something different. Don't go touching your future nest egg if you can help. If you can help it. That's my thought process on that. Bills get in the way while you're getting out of this hole. Absolutely. Well, bills don't get in the way. Bills are, look, you're going to have bills. You know they're there, right? They don't, that's natural, right? Let's see. Arlington, Texas. Nothing from nothing leads to nothing. No doubt. That was a 70s song. Nothing from something leads to nothing. You got to have something if you want to be. I'm not a singer, but I do know the song, right? The deal is this. Your ability to stop being average and stop being mediocre is 1000% determined by what you think and what you do, right? What you think and what you do. That's why I said, if you want to be average with money, this is not the video for you. This is probably not the channel for you, YouTube channel, right? I'm all about teaching above average habits. I'm all about trying to raise the bar and hold you, the viewer, to higher standards so you can hold yourself to higher standards, right? You ever been, I don't know how many of you out here have dealt with young people before, right? When you hold young people to low standards, what do? They match the standards, right? When you hold them to high standards, what do they typically do? They raise up, and they may not raise up to those high standards until they get to be about 30 years old, 40 years old, right? Maybe sometime 25. But you got to have high standards because high standards says, I believe in you. High standards says you can do it. High standards says, I'm coming at you with an abundant mindset. Low standards, no. Above average standards, right? That's what it's all about. I believe personally that ordinary people can achieve extraordinary results by simply doing ordinary things in an extraordinary way or extraordinarily well, right? I don't know if that made sense. Let me see if I can say it again. Ordinary people can achieve extraordinary results by simply doing ordinary things in an extraordinary way. See, if you do the let's talk about the do part a little bit. So we think it and we do it, right? How do you do it? Let's talk about that because I want to talk real briefly about uh, uh, an analogy. But here's how you do it. Here's how you do stuff in an extraordinary way. You do it through management. Hmm. Interesting thought process. You do it through management. The real machinery to doing what I'm telling you to do to be above average is really management. See, most financial advice out here in these YouTube streets or LinkedIn streets, or wherever you're watching this from, most financial advice gets this thing backwards. What do they do? If you go on YouTube, what are they telling you to do? Chase money, chase bigger paychecks, chase hot stocks, right? Or chase passive income. But the problem is a lot of people are chasing all that stuff, but their daily systems in their own four walls is in complete chaos, right? You out chasing something, but home, your four walls is out of order. You don't even have a strong financial foundation, but you trying to chase more money to bring it into your house and put it on this weak foundation built on sand. And I say, don't do it backwards. Fix home first. Fix your four walls first. Fix your foundation of your money first by how you think and how you manage what you already got. Because you don't want to be the person who's pouring more water into a leaky bucket, bringing in more and more money, great hot stocks and all that onto a horrible, weak foundation, right? Because money runs from chaos. Money is attracted to management and order. And if you get the management and order right, it helps, right? See, ordinary people, and I say ordinary people because I'm really an ordinary person with a YouTube channel. But ordinary people build extraordinary lives financially, not because of some huge salary, or they do it because of structure and management and the ability to manage what you already have better than other people. Ordinary stuff done extraordinarily well, right? Remember, whatever you mismanage in life, you're going to lose it. Money is no exception to that rule. And whatever you manage well in life is going to grow, right? Your job. You be a good manager of your job. You're going to get the promotions and the raises, and you're going to enjoy work. You're going to get more money at your job. Imagine if you took this concept and put it towards relationships, right? If you manage relationships well, you get more out of them. If you mismanage relationships, and we all can attest to this, if you mismanage a relationship, what's going to happen? You're going to lose it. Your health, stuff. Look, if I mismanage this phone, I'm going to lose it. It don't matter. That's just a simple principle concept, but money is no exception. When you mismanage money, you have less. See, the missing key to the do part, that we got the thinking part, but the doing stuff part, the missing piece for most people is management. Now, here's the deal. I know you're going to say, man, I just don't make enough money. Man, you know what? They ain't paying enough down there to job, or, wages ain't keeping up with inflation, or, whatever you want to say and call it, right? And I know some of that stuff is true. But you got to adjust and be flexible and say, you know what? Okay, cool. All right, cool. So maybe instead of shopping at Whole Foods, maybe I got to go shop at Aldi's. You got to make some adjustments based on some of the things that's happening out there, but you still got to do it. One of the biggest mistakes I see people making is thinking they have an income problem. But then when you peel back the layers to their personal finances, it's really a management problem. A lot of times, everybody wants what? They want more income, bigger investments, better investments, more opportunities, more money. But very few people stop and ask themselves this one question: am I managing what I already have to the best of my ability? Right? Am I truly putting in the work to manage what I already have? Right? Because if you can't manage, listen, if you're not managing $5,000 a month, you ain't gonna manage $20,000 a month. I'm telling you. This is why oftentimes more money don't fix management problems, guys. Let me put it in basketball terms, okay? Think about it like this. This is my analogy I was thinking about. Scoring more points don't mean that you're going to win more games. If you look at the NBA, National Basketball Association here in America, for some of you that may not be in America, the teams that score the most points every single season, they 99 times out of 100, they're not the same team that has the best record in the league, right? Why is that? Because the game is not about just more offense and piling on points, right? You give up a lot of points, then you're going to lose some games. Same thing with money. It's not about piling on more money and piling on more money. That don't always result in better outcomes with money. There's more to it than that. What is that more? It's how you think, it's how you behave, it's how you manage the money that you get. You got to play some defense too, right? And when it comes to money, management of the money is your defense. Sure, you can get a whole bunch more money, but if you ain't playing defense, you ain't gonna win more games. I don't know if that analogy even makes sense, but it's in my brain, right? A lot of people make a lot of money. They score a lot of points, great offense, but their defense is horrible. Yeah, I'm going out and I got this amount in NVIDIA. I got this amount in Broadcom. I got this amount in VTI. But guess what? The four walls is in shambles. Poor management. This is why you have people. I talk to these people all the time. They making $150,000 a year, $200,000 a year, still living paycheck to paycheck. Hello, right? Bringing home $150,000 a year can't save nothing, can't invest hardly anything. They're scoring a lot of points, but they're not winning a whole lot of games, right? Why? Because they don't manage the money they get well. People just ignore or gloss over management, right? But it's important, right? If you don't manage it, you lose it. Let's see. Let me go back to my chat. I got to go over here and check it. I kind of left chat for a minute. I get on those tangents, guys. Let me see here. Somebody said, actually, Cordova, Tennessee, outside of Memphis. Darren or Daron, good to have you here, Darren. Thank you so much for being here out of Cordova, Tennessee. Do you have any financial advice for parents caring for special needs full time? Is this special needs children or special need adults? In terms of financial advice for parents caring for persons that have special needs full time, that's tough. That's a tough situation. First of all, I commend you, because whenever you dedicate your life to helping out adult parents or even children that have special needs, that's a blessing. So I commend you for doing that and spending your time there. Let's see, I have 3% going in my savings account each week out of my check. Is that good percentage? That's okay. And maybe you want to do that to try to build up your emergency fund or build. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. It's a good start, because anything you can save is always a good start. But I'm challenging you, Jason Thomas, to stretch yourself. Try to go bigger on that thing. Try to dream so big in terms of what you want financially that it takes more than you to make the dream come true. Go bigger. Let's see. So definitely enjoy this. We'd love to start something on the side. Anyone interested? When you say that, Mass, let me know what you're talking about. Monthly budget, envelopes for control, and control for me. I still use the envelope system, by the way. Right? I still use it. Huge fan. Thank you, Greg. I appreciate you being here. Thank you, Mass. Question. Anyone saying keep it basic but perfect? Are you saying keep it basic but perfect it? Coffee. That's exactly what I'm saying. I'm simple. I do everything simple. But guess what? I do simple things better than most people. For example, I haven't missed a budget since August of 1992. Written budget, August of 1992. Got a budget every single month on paper, notebook paper, ledger book, and on to 2017 when I started doing it on a Google Sheet. Very important, right? That's my guide. And so I do those types of things. Most people don't even do a budget, let alone do a budget for what is that, 34 years in a row? That's crazy, but it's true. Let's see, I need that change in my life. Let's see, it would be cool to start something, have something outside the job. No doubt. 27 years old, reviewing my 401k and my individual brokerage account. I notice they both have similar broad market exposure. Maybe you want to diversify that a little bit at the age of 27. How do I know when overlap between the two is actually a problem? Well, to what degree is the overlap? I mean, if you sitting in your 401k and it's invested in the S&P 500 there, but then you come out to your Fidelity account and or your Vanguard account and you got VOO, okay, that's a little too much. Here's what I would suggest to you, Lamont. When you're investing, watch this, Lamont, very important. Everybody can hear this. You need to come up with your own personal investing philosophy. And when you come up with your own personal investing philosophy that includes what are my core beliefs about investing? What do I believe about businesses? What is my risk tolerance level? When you begin to piece that together for yourself, and it can be something as simple as a spreadsheet or a piece of notebook paper, but when you determine what is your investing philosophy, then you take that and that will help you determine when overlap between the two is actually a problem. Okay? Because personal finance is personal. Your portfolio ain't going to look like my portfolio. Maybe, watch this, maybe your 401k and your individual brokerage accounts are serving two different purposes. If they serve two different purposes, maybe it's okay to have some overlap because this one is for this, and this one over here, your 401k, is for something totally different. Maybe there can be some overlap, but maybe you're counting them all as one and you don't want to have a bunch of overlap. So my point is, figure out what's your philosophy in terms of investing. And then you determine, okay, this is too much overlap. So I can't really give you an answer to that. It depends on a lot of personal things, right? Personal variables. Let's see. Aldi is wonderful. I used to shop at Aldi, no doubt. Yeah, I've been trying to learn new skills myself. Braves fan, Atlanta in the house. Good. Uh, Dale Murphy was one of my favorite players growing up. He was an Atlanta Brave. Analogy is on point. Okay, good. Darren, just like my football team, Dallas Cowboys, scored the most points on offense. Hello, Darren, you get what I'm saying. So what if you score a lot of points? So what if you have $100,000 invested in NVIDIA? Ooh, but then you owe $120,000 of bad debt. If you owe $120,000 of bad debt, do you really have $100,000 invested in NVIDIA? Right? You play good offense, but you played horrible defense, and you're not winning. Right? Let's see. South Africa. Good to have you in the house. Are you saying keep it? Yep. I already answered that. What am I doing? I'm going backwards. Somebody said I'm a net worth millionaire with 10 rentals and shop at Aldi. I love that. Fantastic. Congratulations to your home advantage. Most of my tenants are struggling, but they shop at Whole Foods. Okay. That's interesting, but I definitely have seen that happen. Let's see. When should someone create a will? Listen, you ought to have a full, if you got $50,000 of net worth, figure out your net worth. Good question, the words. And guys, we having a little Q&A. It's a Friday night. I'm going on and on about, how I want you to be above average and what types of things you got to do in terms of thinking and in terms of action and behavior in terms of being above average. But we're just having a conversation, man, shooting the breeze, which is good sometimes. So when should somebody create a will? Here's my rule of thumb. If you got over $50,000 in net worth, you should have a full-blown estate plan. That's my opinion. In other words, let's say you do your net worth statement, which I suggest everybody do at least twice a year. Assets on one side of the paper, liabilities and what you owe on the other side of the paper. Add them all up, whatever the net worth is, hopefully it's positive. If it's positive, if you got 40, 50, 60 and above of net worth, go ahead, spend the $2,000, $3,000 and get you an estate plan. I'm in a full blown with the healthcare directive, which are all that. Get it all done. It includes a will, right? I would say get it all done. So when somebody should have, when should someone create a will? As soon as you get about $50,000 or more of net worth. That's my rule of thumb. Just beginning in this financial journey, said Candace. I wrote out a cash flow sheet last week. Congratulations. Now you're being intentional, Candace. Congratulations. Now you are setting yourself up to have a different thought process and put in the behavior to do things differently. So that's a big congratulations out to you. Let's see here. Somebody said, oh, I like that question. I got to get to that question. Somebody said, do you have any advice for first-time home buyers? I'm looking to buy my first apartment. You buying an apartment? And I'm confused on the process. Are you buying a condo? Yeah, I got about 100 videos here on YouTube. Look for a playlist and look under real estate. I got about 100 videos on YouTube about real estate because I used to talk about it all the time because I've owned real estate for about 26 years. Let's see. Get a loan from a bank to buy the apartment, to pay payments. Yeah, you. What I would challenge you to do is understand the concept of cap rate. If you're buying an apartment, I want you to go out and Google and understand the concept of cap rate. If you understand cap rate, it's going to help you understand how to evaluate a deal, a commercial real estate deal, which an apartment complex, when it gets like over 6 units or 8 units, it's considered commercial. So I would say, yeah, you want to understand what is cap rate? How do I figure cap rate? And how do I use cap rate to figure out whether or not it's a good buy or not a good buy? So that's what I would suggest you do. Somebody said, let's see here. I'm just beginning. Nope, I've read that already. Good to, hey, Nurse Moonshine, you're new here. I'm glad to have you here. Thank you for being here. Let's see. I need help understanding retirement as a solo self-employed person. I'm 45 and don't make much, but need to build my retirement fund. There's some solo 401ks that you could look at. I would suggest you check out some solo 401ks that are out there. Not sure what your business is. Not sure if you're filing taxes as an S corp. If you're filing taxes as an S corp, make sure you're paying yourself a little salary, and you can then, if you're on QuickBooks or something, you can then begin to put together some type of retirement plan for you as an entrepreneur. Let's see here. Narland's in the house. Thank you so much, Home Advantage, for the super chat. Appreciate you being here. I stumbled upon videos last week talking about Roth IRA account. Any advice for women, a woman who is broke with over 5,000 credit card debt? Well, you know what, Candace? It's about your age. How old are you? It's also about how much bad debt you have. What I tell people is to go through the system, the process, and I have it all mapped out on some of my other videos I've talked about. But my biggest advice is to first start getting yourself educated about personal finance. So start reading. And you say just looked at a video last week, start doing some reading, start educating yourself about the right things to do, start thinking about your own ideas in terms of personal finances and go from there. That's a really tough question. You got to give me more, Candace, in terms of your age and all that good stuff. Appreciate you, Candace. See, I'm making more money now. Any advice for a trust fund for my 2 teens? My biggest advice for teens is make sure that you're teaching them about money. Don't be sitting around the dinner table. Just try to talk about money. Have that conversation so they understand. Get them involved. The thing is, look, a kid is really never too young to start learning about money. And it depends on depending on where your kids are. You gotta get them where they're at, and you start teaching them about money, talking about money, having the conversations about money, having the conversations about delayed gratification, the conversations about not going for every shiny object, right? And I got three grown adult kids now and 7 grandkids. So I got a little bit of experience with kids and money. Let's see. Home health. Good for you, Nurse Moonshine. Let's see. What about a Roth? Love Roth IRAs. Love them. There's a limit to what you can put in, and you can put in a little more over the age of 50. But Candace said, I'm 55. Candace, you need to have a little one-on-one. That'll really help me dig into your situation. But it's not too late, Candace. So don't have a negative outlook. Be optimistic about it. Let's see here. Okay, she said, Nurse Moonshine said, I work in home health. And yes, my accountant files me as an S Corp. Fantastic. And that means you give yourself a salary. When you file as an S Corp, you give yourself a salary. Let's see here. 5K is not that much debt. No, 5K is not a whole lot of debt, but it depends on how much money you're making as well, right? And I'm researching solo 401ks through Charles Schwab and looking into SEPs. SEPs are good too, right? About being taxed as income when I withdraw it later in life. You know what? We need to have a conversation, Nurse Moonshine, because I like to dig a little deeper in that situation. And it's hard to do it right here. Here, let's say, do I sell assets to pay back taxes, or do I set up payment plan and make the money? You know, when it comes to back taxes, the IRS is a beast. I've been audited before. When I had an eBay business from 2013 to 2019, I got audited by the IRS, and silly me, I threw away a whole bunch of records, and I had to go back and forth with the IRS. Man, they are a beast. And when I met with the IRS, it was so funny because, you know, they call and they call me into their office, and they're in this really nondescript office. It ain't even has no label on it. You don't know what it is, but it's an IRS office with a bunch of agents in it here in the Kansas City area where I'm at. And when you sit down with them, they was just mean, rude, mad for no reason. You know, what I mean, I try to come in there kind of lighthearted with them. You know, it's the IRS. I don't want to be too mad at me. And man, they was like sticking to the script, and they was like mad. Me, you don't want to be fooling with the IRS. You want to get them paid off as soon as possible. But at the same time, I would just set up a payment plan and make sure and maybe double up on those payments if I could. But I wouldn't dig into my 401k or do anything like that to try to pay them off. Let's see. What do you think about consumer growth stocks making a comeback? Nike. I think that you have Nike in there. You know, in my own personal individual stock portfolio, um, I don't have a lot of consumer growth stocks. Okay. Um, because I have about 22, 23 individual stocks, and most of 90% of my portfolio is ETFs and index funds, maybe 95%. But I got a little bit of individual stocks, and it's a lot of tech. It's a lot of energy. It's a few industrials. I got some consumer staples in there, a few consumer staples, a little bit of growth. Um, But a company like, I'm gonna be honest with you, a company like Nike, Nike was on my watch list. I'm not buying Nike. And I'm not buying Nike because I think Nike has, unless they get new leadership, I think they just got new leadership. But Nike to me is one of those companies where the competition is fierce nowadays. And I don't think they'll have a stranglehold on the market like they had in years past. And I know people have the Nike, you know, they sponsor certain large events, Olympics and things like that. I just don't see Nike having the big comeback that some people may, right? I know Nike's been down for a few years. So, but again, that's my personal philosophy, my personal thoughts based on my portfolio, and you've got to do the research for yourself as well. Hey, Smooth Prof, good to have you. How can you reach me? Listen, you can always go to my website, smartmoneybro.com. You go there, everything you need is right there in front of you. If you go to YouTube and go to the description box of this YouTube video, there's things there where you can reach me for sure. Um, and you can I have a ask me anything session that is pretty inexpensive as well. So you can always do that. It's a 30-minute session that I have for folks to help them with a question or two. If you want something deeper, I have one-on-one financial mentoring and coaching that I do as well. So those things are all in the description box of this YouTube video. Let's see. Somebody says, is emerging ETFs good? They're okay. There's risk. So always consider risk when you look at emerging ETFs and when you look at anything. when it comes to money. Estate planning is responsible financial planning. Man, I agree with you 100%. Hey, good to have you here, Johnny Moore. How do you feel about Micron? Micron probably will have a split. I can't guarantee it, but I know Micron has gone crazy over the past couple of years or 6 months to a year. Crazy. I don't know if they'll split. I haven't done my research on their management and their thought process. I haven't looked at the 10K, 10Q. Somebody said Nike's garbage. Yeah, what do you think about SpaceX? I'm not an Elon guy. I don't own Tesla. I'm not really a SpaceX guy. Not because I don't like Elon Musk or I'm not. It's not about politics or anything like that. It's just that I've never been big on Tesla. And because once I did my research on Tesla, looked at over the last few years, its volatility. I'm not a big person that likes volatility. I'm in it for the long haul, and I like very stable companies. That's part of my risk tolerance and part of my philosophy. I own Coca-Cola. I own Waste Management. I own Toyota. I own Costco. I own companies. I own Visa, right? I'm just being honest with you. I own things that are more stable in terms of volatility, okay, than things like SpaceX or Tesla and things like that. You're welcome, Nurse Moonshine. You got it. Greetings from Senegal, West Africa. Good to have you. Thank you for being here. Let's see here. I'm going to check out that description box. All right. Thank you very much, Candace. I'm also looking to estate planning. Good. I can tell you some things about estate planning, right? Finally got mine done about 8 or 10 years ago, and I try to update it. I have an autistic son. God is able. Good to have you. Just paid off my car note. Congratulations to you for paying off your car note. And you want to invest more in your Roth. Any suggestions? Well, I would ask you this question. Do you have an emergency fund? Do you have a fully funded emergency fund? Do you do a budget on a regular basis? Have you calculated your net worth? Have you done some of the things that will build up you a strong foundation before you invest more into your Roth IRA? Remember what I said earlier. I'll say it again. Build a foundation. Don't try to go out and invest and invest and invest and invest, and you don't even do a budget, right? You got a car payment and you owe $10,000 in medical bills, but you're trying to invest, invest, invest. So God is able. The first thing I would ask you to do is, I would ask you a question is, do you have some of these basic things taken care of first? I want you to have a Roth IRA, but I also want you to have the basics taken care of, right? So I believe that, yeah, if you have all the basics, please, you need to go ahead and fully fund your Roth IRA if you can. How about keeping EME as a defense hedge? I don't know what EME is. I like defensive hedges, though. What do you think about Walmart stock? And has a $10 each of each check going towards Walmart stock. Walmart is just like Costco, right? It's one of those staples at this point, still well ran. After they get these little management shifts, but the family still owns it. I like Walmart stock. I haven't done any research in terms of the 10K and 10Q. If you watch this, I keep saying research of individual stocks. If you go to my YouTube description box, there is a free AI investing prompts for researching any company. It's right there in the description box. Click on that, because I always tell people nowadays, you don't have to thumb through a 10K or a 10Q to figure out or look at an earnings report. You can plug in, you can take that 10Q off of Walmart's website, just pull it off, download the PDF, and you can take that PDF, put it in Chat GPT or Claude or Gemini, any of those, and then add in a prompt of what you want it to spit out. And you can do all your research that way using AI. So I have a free AI investing checklist for individual stocks and for ETFs and index funds. And it's got prompts and it's free. It's right there in the description box below. So go check that out. I'm not an XRP guy. I'm not a crypto guy, guys. You listen, you rarely hear me talk crypto on this channel because I'm not a crypto guy. You got it, David. Thank you for asking the questions. In my Mass said he's in his 20s now. Mass, I think it's a man or a lady. I'm not sure. What to start a 529 for future kids for university one day. Listen, Mass, don't take care of the kids until you take care of you. Ooh, I know that's bad. Look, I don't want you having $100,000 for kids put away and they're not even here yet. First, make sure you get all of your stuff taken care of for you. Then we can worry about the kids in a little bit. Nope, I've never known how to manage money. Candace, you're gonna learn. You're gonna learn how to manage money. You keep watching this channel. I'm 31 and I have an emergency fund of 5K and I have a budget. Congratulations. My net worth is low, so I open a Charles Schwab account. Good, nothing wrong with that. I have only 9K left on my car loan. Good. Here's what I would suggest. If you got a 401K, this is for Black Widow Row. If you got a 401K at your job, put in only the match at the job. Build up your emergency fund with extra money from your budget. And then once you build up your emergency fund, then go back and start putting more money in your Schwab account. But please don't start putting 20% of your paycheck in your Schwab account while you still paying 9,000 off the car. Pay off the car, right? Do it in order. Pay off the car. You're only 31, right? If you pay off the car by the time you're 32 and you have a full emergency fund by the time you're 33, then by the time you're 34, you can lob a whole bunch of money into your investment accounts at Charles Schwab. Do things in order, right? The growth of money loves order. But don't try to do too many things at once, right? I'm putting, $100 a month towards my investments and I'm paying off my car and I'm saving for. That's going to take you a decade to finish any one of those things. So finish one, move to the next. Let's see here. Black Widow, you said 300K. Not sure what that's for. My foundation is Jesus Help Me. Nothing wrong with that at all. I love that. What is a stable coin and how it works internationally? Not a coin guy. Is defense stocks like cigarettes, beer, and chocolate good? I own some Procter and Gamble. I don't own any beer stocks, and I don't own any cigarette making. Although is it Procter and Gamble? What's the other one? I don't know if Procter and Gamble even makes any cigarettes anymore. They might, but it depends on you, Derek. Totally up to you. Those things are things that Philip Morris is the one I'm thinking about. But that's totally up to you. If you want to, put money in those stocks in good faith in terms of what your philosophy is, that's cool. Totally up to you. Let's see here. Any more questions? And I'm probably way behind on the questions. Where's the AI app on your app side? I don't use, when you say AI app, what do you mean by that, Mass? Let's see here. Have you covered tax harvesting for those of us who may have had some initial? No, I have not. No tax harvesting. Haven't talked about that really much on my channel. Let's see. I've been holding SoFi since they went public. Yeah, I got a tad bit of SoFi, but I've gotten rid of some SoFi as well. Let's see here. My 401k has 300k. Okay, good. That's a nice size 401k, Black Widow Row. Fantastic. Congratulations. So I hit the questions a little bit, but let me kind of go back and figure this out, or at least talk about what I mentioned earlier. If you want to be average, guys, and I appreciate the questions, and if you have any more, please drop them in there. And don't forget to hit the like. And don't forget this. Let me just mention this. Check out Manage Your Way to Millions. That's my book that's out there right now. Let me go back to talking about something, though, because I was thinking about this. I was thinking about stewardship and management, because I mentioned management earlier. And sometimes people, they gloss over management like it's nothing. But if you think about the concept of being a good manager over your money, just imagine if you bought your child a nice pair of $75 tennis shoes. And then just a few weeks later, after you bought your child a nice pair of $75 tennis shoes, and you can get a good pair of $75 tennis shoes, okay? You go to the sales rack, right? But think about if they tore them up in 2 weeks after you spent your hard-earned money getting them. Let me ask you this question. Would you probably race out and buy that child another pair of $200 pair tennis shoes to replace the $75 tennis shoes? Would you go out and buy that child of yours a $200 pair of tennis shoes after they ruined the $75 pair of tennis shoes in 2 or 3 weeks? Now, that's kind of a rhetorical question because the answer to that is probably no. Why not? I'm trying to hone in on the concept of management. You probably wouldn't do it because they mismanaged the little $75 pair of shoes that you gave them in the first place. If anything, you might grab them a little $50 pair of shoes because you know they might tear them up again in the next 2 or 3 weeks. And I like to use that analogy because I want you to think about that in your own personal financial life. You have here, not to offend anybody, but you may have what you have because maybe you're mistreating the $75 pair of tennis shoes that you already have. Life is not bringing you $200,000 shoes because you're not really managing the $75 pair of shoes that you've been given. So maybe if you made a conscious decision, I know everybody wants to focus on investing. Look at the questions that came through: investing, investing, investing. That's all that everybody wants to focus on. But maybe if you focused on taking really, really good care of the $75,000 salary that you have today, the $100,000 job will appear. I'm just saying, I believe that opportunities have a way of flowing towards people who demonstrate that they can be trusted with responsibility. They can be trusted to be a good steward over their personal finances in terms of management. Now, I'm not being, look, I've made a lot of mistakes, like I said, but I learned a long time ago that being a good steward over my personal finances really means taking good care of what I already have. And a lot of people, I believe, don't have more because they're not being a good steward of what they currently have. That's how I think about management, right? And it's not complicated to do. It just requires some discipline and some consistency and some order, right? Order, like do a written budget, right? Um, know what your net worth is. I mentioned earlier, do a net worth statement a couple times a year. Maybe have some written financial goals and some action steps for each goal. Maybe spend 30 minutes to an hour every single week managing your money, or every 2 weeks when you get paid, managing your money, right? Sit down, review your stuff, go over your goals, look at your accounts, check your banking account. How's it matching up? Be intentional, read, learn, listen, ask questions, get a mentor. Am I right? Ask yourself the question: am I moving closer to the life I want to live in terms of how I'm managing my money? And I'll be honest with you, most people still spend more time planning vacations than they plan their money. That's just real. Let's keep it 100, right? Let's keep it a buck. Let's see here. Let me go back to the chat real quick. Let me see. You guys tell me what is the hardest part of managing money? I'm curious. What's the hardest part of managing money? Somebody said is buying okay. Is buying mutual funds like Vanguard, tracking the S&P 500 from your Roth IRA safe and good? Okay. Yeah, that's fine, Danny. There's nothing wrong with that at all. Let's see. Somebody said I bought my son a bike, told him don't take the bike to the community center. He took the bike and it got stolen. Never bought him another bike. Okay. That's exactly the concept I was just talking about. Making 65K a year and remodeling a house to flip. Is this a good risk or a bad risk? Making 65K, I've been there, done that, man. That's a tough one, right? Flipping houses is cool. But after you pay taxes and everything, flipping house, I tell people don't start investing in real estate with flips. Because a lot of times when you start with flips, you don't know. And that first flip, you got to learn, and you thought you was gonna make 30,000, you end up making 6,000. Um, Nothing wrong with flipping, but just be careful. There's some risk involved. Is it a good risk? Maybe. I don't know what else you have, Mr. and Mrs. Anderson. I don't know what you have. Yeah, it depends on a lot of different variables. I agree. I'm determined to start with cash flow sheet and chip away at debt. Absolutely. Somebody said, I have an older car that I take good care of, came to the realization that I don't deserve to save up for a new car because I mistreat my current car that still gets me places. I'm considering opening a credit card that I can transfer debt. I'm not a credit card guy. As if you follow this channel, you know I haven't owned a credit card in about 15 years. I don't own credit cards at all. Don't need them, don't use them. The hardest part of managing money is managing my wife's spending habits. I understand, totally understand. Hardest part about managing money is keeping my money bleeding out. Totally get it. Amazon and the such make it. Amazon and all that stuff makes it easy for spending. True, true. That's about discipline right there, though, right? Let's see. Come home to packages addressed to my dear wife all the time. Yeah. Listen, Amazon makes it way too easy, right? Totally get it. Good to have you here, Big Daddy Chet. Good to have you here. Best strategy for multiplication. Let's see. Biggest obstacle with money, managing money for me is constantly having to tweak that budget. I do daily check in to see where I'm at. That's good. I like that. I like that suggestion. Very good. So here's the deal. If you want to stop being mediocre, being average with money, you got to build some systems. No, I'm not going to sell you a system. I'm just telling you, you need a system, right? A system that functions for you when the motivation's gone. There is no motivation, right? Hoping, that ain't wishing, that ain't good enough, right? Somebody says, what was the link you have where you upload your 10K, 10Q? You go to the description box of YouTube. Let me see if it's in there, right? I think it is in there. You go to the description box on YouTube, and what you do is you find it. Let me see if I can find it real quick, because I want you guys to have it. I think it's pretty cool. It's really a pretty cool tool, apps actually. All right. I do think the link is in there. Yeah, it says in that description box, the first thing is my book that's on Amazon. You can check that out. But then you got the ebook, 24 Laws of Money is in there, the free debt snowball worksheet, and the free AI investing prompts plus. That is the link right there that you go in YouTube on the description side of things, and you go ahead and grab that AI investing tool. All right. Because I think you guys should have some tools, not just get motivation from me. I like watching Smart Money Bro. No, I got some stuff for you to actually do something with, right? I have my one-on-one financial coaching link is in that description as well. And by the way, let me just say this. I am going to shamelessly plug this. In about 3 to 4 weeks, I got a new book coming out. This one is called Manage Your Way to Millions. That new book is going to be called Think Your Way to Millions. Your mind controls your money. It's deep, real deep. And I want you to peep that out in a few weeks. I'll be giving you more information about that, but just be on the lookout for it. Right? Let me see. We got any more questions out here? Somebody said SpaceX will continue to fall. Yeah, you know, I don't wish it falls, but let's see. Your take on short-term and long-term care insurance. Long-term care insurance, maybe at the age of 60, 58, 59, 60, depending on what your health looks like. That might be something good to look into. Let's see. I agree. I'm going to check your link and watch more videos. Appreciate it, Candace. Thank you for being here. Thank you so. Listen, the least you can do, smash the like button for me, and then share the link to this video with someone else. If you're watching me on Facebook, I'm so glad that you're here with me. Thank you very much for spending this Friday with me. If you're watching me over on LinkedIn, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you being here. If you're joining me here on YouTube, thank you so much. I appreciate you being here, right? Thank you so much. Listen, guys, I'm not going to hold you up. It's Friday night. I know some of you want to get out, but if you have a question, drop it. I'm here to get it. I'm here to answer it for you right now in the chat. right? Right now in the chat. Got a couple more videos coming out this weekend. I think I'm going to have one coming out Sunday. And then we'll have another one coming out Wednesday. Let me see. Thank you for what you do. Thank you so much for being here, Nurse Moonshine. Appreciate you. How do you give yourself grace, no regret, not educating yourself on money earlier in life? Let it go. It's over, right? Stop living in the past. That's how you give yourself grace. Move on, right? Everybody makes mistakes. Just learn from the mistakes and move on. Stop looking back. Somebody said whole or term life insurance. I always say this: if you got a 900,000 or $1 million net worth, you need to start looking at some whole life types of policies. Okay, not to get one, but just to do some research. There may be some reason to fit you into a whole life at that net worth point. If you got a $2, $3, $4, $5 million net worth, some whole life products would be good for you. But if you ain't got that much money, get you some term life insurance. The problem with whole life insurance policies and types of policies is a lot of times they're marketed to people who shouldn't be in a whole life policy. You shouldn't be 30 years old paying $350, $400 a month so that in 10 years you can build up some cash value and maybe borrow money from yourself. What's the point in that? Right? It's hard to build wealth with cash value life insurance type policies. So I would say if you're 35, 40 years old, go ahead and get you a 15, 20-year term life policy, pay your little $40, $50, $60 a month, and use whatever money you would have been putting towards the whole life policy, put it in your own brokerage account and let it build up, and you got all different types of things you can purchase with it. That's my take on whole life or term life. Most people, the vast majority of people, term life policy is just fine. Because here's why. Ultimately, I want you to get to the point where you're self-insured, right? When you get $1 million net worth, you don't need really term life insurance anymore, and you really don't need whole life insurance. But you could use whole life insurance if you want to do some things with it. There's a lot of advantages for it when you get over a certain net worth, right? So that's my take on it. Boston, Massachusetts in the house. Okay, Massachusetts. I'll say it right. Let's see. Somebody said, do you have money advice for blue collar workers, especially with the body breaking down with age? You know what, man? Blue collar workers, man, I appreciate blue collar workers. I really do. I got to say that, man. I'm not a person that says everybody has to go to college and sit behind a desk, and you can if you want, but you don't have to, right? You can be a plumber, you be a good plumber. You could be a hairdresser, be a great hairdresser. You could do it. You could be a chef, be a great chef, right? But money advice, it don't change based on whether you blue collar, you white collar. It don't change. One thing you can start exploring doing if your body's starting to break down, think about some other ways you can make money. Maybe instead of repairing HVAC, you can now own an HVAC company and hire people to do the grunt work, the hard work for you. Maybe instead of owning or working in the HVAC industry, maybe you can start to teach people how to do the work that you did for a long time. Maybe you can explore some other gifts or skills that you have, right? You got other options that are lighter on the body for sure. You got a lot of different options, to be honest with you. I hope that answered your question. Interested in a semi-truck 4-year lease, 8 months to go, or invested in a semi-truck 4-year lease, 8 months to go. Should I pay off and pocket the wealth, or drive for some more years and risk what it's worth now? I'm all about buying cars cash. Man, I wrote a whole book. And if you go to buycarscash.com, is it buycarscash.com? You'll see my book. I'm not about leasing cars. I want to own a car, right? So my thing is pay that thing off and do what you can to own it as soon as possible. I need coaching. Patricia, you got me. Go to the website, look at my coaching link. Not the website. Go to smartmoneybro.com. Look at that website. But go over to the description box of YouTube as well, either one. Am I retired from a full-time job? No. I still work a full-time job. I do plan to retire within a year. About a year or so. I do plan to retire. Which percentage of your pay do you recommend contributing to your retirement as a self-employed person who doesn't make much? As much as possible. I hope that answered that question. As much as possible. Let's see here. Strategy for paying off 8 credit cards debt. Do the debt snowball. I got a free debt snowball worksheet with instructions in the description box here on YouTube of this video. So just go to that and check it out. Let's see. To anybody struggling with a budget, the Every Dollar app makes budgeting very simple. I recommend it. Yeah, I've heard some good things about that app. I don't use an app when it comes to budgeting. I truly don't use an app. I don't even want to use an app. I like using my spreadsheet I've been using for years and years and years, right? What's your thought on bankruptcy? It depends. It's a last resort move, in my opinion. Depends on what type of bankruptcy as well, right? Is it smart to have a high yield savings account? Nothing wrong with keeping your emergency money in a high yield savings account. Nothing wrong with it at all. As long as bond yields stay fairly high, when bond yields stay fairly high, the returns on those HYSAs are fairly high as well, right? And that's kind of where we were at least a few weeks ago. Once you become debt free, how did you stay out of debt? Do you have any tips? Yes. Here's the biggest tip when you become debt free. Biggest tip I can give you: make sure you build an emergency fund so that you don't have to go back in debt for little bitty emergencies, right? Build an emergency fund. Have cash. That's the best way to make sure you don't go back in debt. And then you got to commit to staying out of debt, right? You got to commit to it. The only reason you fear it because you don't have a plan to stay out of it, right? If you have a plan if you have money, you won't fear it. If you have a safety net, 6 months of your monthly expenses saved up, you won't fear going back in debt, right? Because if you need a $10,000 car, you go buy it. If you need a $12,000 car, $15,000, you go buy it. Have some cash when you get out of debt. It helps you not go back in. Let's see, how many brokerages to use actively, actively use, like Vanguard, Fidelity, Robinhood? I use multiples. I use Moomoo, I use Fidelity, I use Schwab, and I use Vanguard. But all of them serve a different purpose in what I'm doing in terms of wealth building. And because they serve different purposes, I use multiple different accounts. But you don't have to do that, right? You can have everything in Fidelity if you want. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that at all. Totally up to you. Totally your decision. If you don't have a whole bunch of different stuff going on like I do, just use one. Keep it simple, right? Let's see. If I was to invest in 4 indexes and 4 ETFs to be well-rounded, would that be a good start? Maybe. Don't watch this now, Coffee. I want you to listen to me. Don't mistake activity for progress when it comes to investing. Okay. Don't think that I got 4 different accounts with 4 different index funds and 4 different ETFs and I'm doing good. That ain't got nothing to do with being good. You just busy for no reason. It could be a reason, but most people, they think that activity equals progress. It don't. You don't have to have 8 different, 4 ETFs and 4 index funds. You can have 1 or 2 ETFs and be perfectly fine. This is why, Coffee, the first thing you got to do when it comes to investing is not start throwing your money at different ETFs and index funds. The first thing you got to do is you have to figure out, what is my goals? What is my core philosophy? What is my core beliefs? What is my risk tolerance level? What do I ultimately want? You got to build this up on paper. I like to say on paper, for yourself. And when you do that, it's going to determine if you need to have 4 index funds or 4 and plus 4 ETFs, right? Because maybe you can get everything you need in 1 index fund. Maybe. Don't mistake activity for progress, right? All right, so let me see what else we got here. We said you have changed my life. Oh, Ruth, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. From Idaho, good to have you here, and thank you for your support of the channel. I really do appreciate paying off your debts and still investing. Okay, do you, boo. I appreciate you, though. Thank you for being here. Absolutely, get your health checked, too. Absolutely. Do you think legal marriage this day and age is a bad investment? No, there's nothing wrong with a marriage. It's not a bad investment. Right? Matter of fact, marriage can be a good investment, especially if you're on the same page financially. I mean, it's hard to nowadays, it is kind of hard to do this thing by yourself. You can do it, But imagine if two people are pushing and rowing the boat in the same direction. You can go really far, right? Let's see. You already know hybrid exercise is essential, my guy. Absolutely. I'm splitting between 401k and flexible premium deferred annuity house in an IRA. Should I forget the annuity and push everything into 401k? Totally up to you. There's nothing wrong with annuities. I'm not an annuity guy. I don't have an annuity, but if you want an annuity, that's fine. So that's really a personal decision. Do you recommend a separate car emergency fund than living? Yes. Okay. Let me get Mass. I appreciate you saying that. Every time I get paid, I put money aside for my cars in case they need repairs. So I have a separate little bit of money to the side in case because I drive an older car. So I always got to have a little money in case something goes wrong. So I do have a separate from my emergency fund. I have a separate car emergency fund, but that's totally up to you, right? Let's see here. I have a TSP and a pension type job. How would you say for retirement? Look, TSP. If you have a TSP, contribute as much as possible. I would say contribute the max if you can, and you got everything else done in your financial life. Uh, no, I would not save less to the TSP. I would save more to the TSP. Do you recommend a financial advisor for senior citizens? Not necessarily. I recommend you learn and I recommend you interview 3 or 4, and then you make a decision about who's comfortable for you. Let's see here. Clearly, crypto is in a bear market. Are you bullish long term on Bitcoin? I'm not a Bitcoin guy. Again, I don't invest in Bitcoin. I own a little bit of an Ethereum, but it's probably less than $1,500 in Ethereum, right? I'm just not a crypto guy, guys. Mumu and Robinhood creates for tinkering. Let's see here. What jobs are there today? What jobs are there? I'm not sure about that question. Side hustle, man. There's a million side hustles. You got access to the internet. You got access to all types of side hustles, right? They're everywhere, man. I mean, look, you're watching YouTube right now. That's a side hustle, right? It really is, right? So listen, guys, I'm not going to hold you. We had a long session. We've been on here how long, guys? We've been on here an hour and a half. Thank you so much. Let me ask you a question, guys. Do you like the Friday lives? Give me a thumbs up if you think Friday lives is cool, right? I did it at 7 o'clock just in case you want to get out and kick it. But I also said, you know what? Let's just open up the floor. Let's ask questions. Let's have a little fun. And let's talk about how to stop being mediocre, right? This channel is about above average. I'm not bashing anybody. I'm not shaming nobody. Everything is open. We all here trying to learn and help each other, and that's what it's all about. You might check out my Patreon, Smart Money Bro. We there too. It's just a matter of just meeting people where they are. And I'm not trying to sell you a whole bunch of things. I have some stuff for sale. Let's not get it twisted, right? I got to make a little money too. But at the same time, the goal and the mission is to help ordinary people be extraordinary with their money by doing the fundamentals. And I want you to notice something. If you stayed here for a while, did you guys notice how most of the questions came in was about investing? Did you catch that? Most of the questions are about investing because the management piece, the thinking differently piece to money is boring. A lot of people don't fool with that. They don't want to get into how to think differently with money. They don't want to get into how to manage money better. People want to know how to invest. We want that shiny stock. But I'm telling you now, you get that financial literacy piece down, and guess what? And you get the management piece down, everything else takes care of itself. Yes. Anthony said, had a friend get a $65,000 truck and said in a bragging way, huh? I appreciate you guys. Thank you for the thumbs up. I might come on here next Friday and do this again, guys. Have your questions ready. Let's just kick back and have some fun time next Friday as well. Look, as I always say, guys, the absolute best person who's going to take care of the old you is the young you. Share this video, hit the thumbs up button, and I appreciate you guys. Until the next video, peace.